Carlos Alcaraz is a tennis player from Spain. He is, for all accounts right now, the best player in the world. He just won the US Open. Kind of interesting, a little bit of a controversy, kind of not a controversy. He has had the only licensed cards that he has right now are going to be coming through Net Pros, and which is actually they just came out with the product. They just came out with the cards. So like if you go and search, make sure if you're looking for any of his cards, make sure you're looking for the Net Pros official set. The design kind of looks like last year's Bowman a little bit, which is interesting. I noticed there was actually a couple designs that were very similar to other card designs that have been coming out. Like, I think some of the RPAs that were coming out with him, which I don't know if I guess they'd be rookie patch autograph. But either way, so the designs look very similar. But there was a little bit of a controversy when it came to the cards that were on eBay because there were a lot of cards that people were putting up. They were just like the custom cards, which I thought was kind of interesting because like you do see that typically on eBay every now and then. Like you might see it with like well, you were seeing it with players in college before they started doing the NIL deals, but like there were like a ton of his cards on eBay that were just like custom cards. So now NetPros comes out with this product. I'm a big fan of tennis in general. I think tennis cards. I think we've seen over the past few like I guess month or so. I mean, there's been like a lot of news that tennis has been in. When they have these big tournaments, you are typically going to see more tennis in the news, obviously. And when you have a player like Serena Williams retiring, or now Roger Federer is also announcing he's going to be retiring after an upcoming tournament that he's going to be in, you are obviously going to see that a little bit, see tennis more in the news in general. I do think more alternative sports are becoming more popular within the United States as well. If you look at some of the WNBA numbers, like the WNBA ratings have been extremely high compared to other years. Like I think most of the games that they're playing in are breaking the records for these games. Now, also, I do also want to point out like these games, sure they've been on ESPN, but I think ESPN over the past couple of years has started to focus more on trying to promote that product a little bit more, to be completely honest. So, like tennis, WNBA, I think is another kind of alternative. I would say tennis is probably more popular globally than the WNBA. I mean, that seems kind of obvious. A lot of the top players are not from the United States. Like, for example, like Carlos, he's from Spain and he's only 19. So I think I have two sort of things here. I think it's fun to get into prospecting, obviously, but if you've watched any of my other videos, you've heard me talk about prospecting and how dangerous it can be and how you need to be careful if you're prospecting. This is another pretty decent example. I mean, they came out with his cards, as he was sort of on the trajectory up. Like he over this past year, he's really climbed up the rankings, and I think he's at number one now. So first teenager to be number one. I mean, I think this is a pretty good example of like where if you want to buy his cards, maybe wait a little bit until I would say wait until some of the major tournaments are over because like this US Open, obviously if you win the US Open, uh that means, you're going to be in the news. That means his cards are probably going to be more popular. And if you're Net Pros, honestly, it was a perfectly timed release of the product. Not really to their doing, I guess. They probably looked at it and said, we want to come out with the product around the US Open. But like they didn't really expect that he was going to win the US Open. Obviously, if you're looking at this tweet here, first teenager to win any major title since Rafael Nadal in 2005. So like if you're Net Pros and you're coming out with this new product, like I said, perfectly timed. NetPros is also the company that made the 2003 NetPros set, which we talked a little bit about in a previous YouTube video, podcast, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. We talked about it previously because it has the Serena Williams. It also has the Roger Federer and the Rafael Nadal rookie cards. You can probably find older. For Serena, you specifically can find a 1999 Sports Illustrated for Kids, which many people consider the first rookie card. But if you're looking at cards that are the first card within a product, then the 2003 Net Pro set is going to be that product you want to look at. I was actually very surprised when I was looking into the sealed boxes. You can find them for a pretty decent price. Like, if you're comparing the players that are in that box to other sports, it would basically be like if, and I think I use this on Twitter, it would basically be like if Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning all were rookies within one product, were getting their first cards. Obviously, from different years, it's a little bit different, but I think the example kind of holds there. Like you have three of the best tennis players of all time all getting their first rookie cards within one product. And it was one of the first tennis products, I believe, within the United States that was like fully licensed. There were some other tennis stuff that kind of came out throughout. But like I said, so Net Pros 2003, they also come out with this card. I think some of them are numbered. I'm not 100% sure if all the base cards are numbered, but I know there is a set of them that's numbered to 2000. But yeah, the card itself, I would be careful, especially with this is another example of like when a product first comes out, it's going to be more expensive because people want the first card. Like I pull my hair out not being able to figure out why people continuously buy cards right when they come out. Because it's over time, it's clearly shown almost 100% of the time from the release date to even 6 months later, the price of the card or the price of the product has gone down. And I really honestly just I think I have to chalk it up to like people don't care. Like there's just people out there that don't care about what the price is. They don't care that hypothetically they spent $100 on a card when 6 months later that's a $10 card or or $20 card or whatever the price of the card ends up being. There's just people that don't really care about that fact of the card and the price of it going down after a certain amount of time. I think I don't know exactly why people wouldn't really care, but at the same time, it's like, if you are really not looking at pricing, it could be somebody like I think there's so many groups of people within sports cards that I don't think people realize. Like there's probably whole groups of people who really aren't looking at, any type of historical data, or, they're not on social media, or they're not, which at this point, like if you're buying stuff on the internet, there's probably a decent chance you're on social media. But like I said, I'll say that there's probably there's a group of people probably that aren't on social media, aren't looking at this historical data. So they don't even know maybe that the cards are going down in price. Like, because and there also could just be people who are just buying the card because they want to buy the card and they're just never going to plan to sell it. So they don't really care that they spent, whatever, $75, $100 on the card if they know they're never going to sell it. Now, if the card's worth $20, you could then buy 5 of them. So that would make sense to me why you wouldn't want to buy the card right away. But at the same time, some people just want the card first. You're probably also going to see people that want to get it graded first. Now, I think that's a completely different conversation than the kind of what I was just talking about. But that price does end up coming down. I think I would be interested to see sort of somebody's journey, if that's what they're doing when they're flipping, like grading and flipping, if they're buying the card when it first comes out, grading it, spending the $200-300 whatever on grading, and then selling it. Like the Mac Jones, for example, the Mac Jones Donruss card, when that product first came out, the PSA 10 that was graded first, I believe the first PSA 10 sold for like 2K or 1500 or something along those lines, which now obviously you could probably find that for, I mean, Mac Jones hasn't had which he's only played the one season, only had one game so far, but I would imagine his prices have come down a little bit. And it's sort of maybe it's an overreaction to week one. Maybe it's an overreaction to sort of the preseason and sort of how the coaching, obviously being a Patriots fan, I'm sort of maybe in it a little bit more. So I'm noticing some of the specific things within Mac Jones and why maybe his cards are going down. But either way, I think what you'll find is like that card, then you could probably find that for like a couple $100 right now, like the PSA 10. And I believe it was one of the most, I think I saw, so PSA comes out with their data, which I love. They come out with a lot of their grading data, and it said that the Mac Jones was like in the top 5 of total number of graded cards of a specific card since the end of the 2021 football season, which, that's definitely pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know, maybe I almost think that maybe that is going to affect the prices of Donruss cards in the future. Like, because for a while, Donruss was the only product that was coming out. So you were seeing pretty significant, changes, or you were seeing pretty significant price on some of those cards because there just weren't any other cards out. Same way, it could be the same thing with these cards, with the Net Pros cards. It's probably, for at least for now, it's his only licensed card that he has. Which, like I said, if it's not a Net Pros licensed card, I would not be buying it on eBay, no matter what it is. You know, he has RPAs, he has the base cards. So if you're looking into his cards, there's only one, and it was recently released. So there's a decent chance you're probably going to be paying more for that card right now than if you're just waiting, maybe even 3 to 4 weeks, even a month, or look into it. Like if you look at whatever the next tournament is, which I'm not 100% sure with what the next tournament is, if you're looking at whatever that is, look like a few weeks before that tournament, before the news kind of starts churning up again, because with him being the number one player in the world, I think this means that he's going to get more eyeballs on him. And does that affect his card prices? I'd say probably long term, if he turns out to be like a Nadal or a Federer or a Djokovic. But like, he's only 19. So like I've always said about prospects, if you're looking to buy into him, just be careful, because you never really know how these players are going to turn out.